But knowledge, I mean, if you can think of anything when knowledge wouldn't help you, I'd like to know what it is.
Right.
I mean, like, for example, flat earth people. Jeez.
That's a massive psyop.
I mean, yeah, and there's a whole lot of people who learned that there are conspiracies in the last few years because of COVID, who have come out of the COVID period as newly minted
Right.
conspiracy theorists.
We're
And,
awake.
and the first thing they latch on to is like, flat earth. And, they talk about how you get images that are pictures or whatever that are put in the windows of the planes when you fly. Well, you know what? I've flown on private planes. And you get on a private plane and you know what's on the window and you know what's, inside. And you can even put down the window sometimes if you want to, or, open the window in some way. So you're not seeing a projected image.
Yeah.
And you know that when you see the curvature of the earth from your altitude, that it's real. So yeah.
So do you think flat earth, you could insert any other like crazy
Right.
stuff. Do you think those are inbuilt rebound mechanisms of the matrix? It's like a rubber band that when people try to expand their knowledge, so there's, you just have a person there, they're waking up, okay, everything, the conspiracy is the only reality. Now is the earth, is it round, is it flat? Does this like dualistic paradigm that they get sucked into, is that a way to keep them back inside the fence, so to speak?
Yeah, Jacques Vallée wrote about that in one of his books. He called it the nuclear train principle. When somebody gets on a train to truth, the truth train, you know, the bad guys come along and they dump some nuclear fuel in it and set it going so fast that it's, destined to run right off the track because it can't sustain that kind of speed. So people get on these truth trains and then they go off the track because they are handed something that is the nuclear fuel, which is some kind of a conspiracy theory or idea that is so completely off base or misleading that it takes them completely out of the realm of truthfulness and acquiring knowledge. So yeah, that really happens.
With the that no, that's another question I had about the Matrix, because it's funny that you mentioned a lot of times that you would describe much of what was revealed in the Matrix movie series, whatever that was, whoever commissioned it or whatever. But when you came to that, was it like, hey, we had these ideas first, and then they were put into this movie? Because it was, I think, if you read a lot of your work before that, you were describing kind of the same thing that was going on.
Yeah, when we watched that movie, I was electrified. I was like, "Geez, that's all exactly what the seas have been describing." My
Yeah,
God.
that's amazing. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, it just blew me away.
I'm sure they stole from you. I mean, look, the truth is, let's just be honest. I mean, both of those writers slash directors, whatever they're with their names now, they became women.
They did?
Yeah,
Yes. Did
they're
you
like
not
the
know
biggest
about that?
leaders of like the transgender
Oh yeah, you didn't know
movement.
about that? Yes.
Know that.
Yeah, the
Yeah. I'll
two
send you a
supposed
whole
writers and
giant deep
directors of
dive
it.
article on it. It's insane. They literally transgendered them.
It
It
wasn't
was
like
almost like, okay, we're going to give you this fame and money and fortune, and you are also going to follow along with what we tell you. I mean, they're like a caricature of this, what we're talking about, what your books are talking about in the wave. It's incredible.
I didn't know that. I'm sorry to
Yes.
hear that because that was one hell of a movie. I don't know what the follow-up movies were about because I didn't watch the
The
follow-ups.
last one was absolutely horrific. It
I
was
don't
a
like to watch
cheap
follow-up because
knockoff.
if it's a good movie, they usually ruin it, you know?
I thought the second one was good. The third was and then the last one, the newest one, was a total ripoff knockoff. But I mean, in the second one, there were a lot of codes and words and stuff. There's a lot of deep symbolism in both the first and the
Yeah.
second.
Yeah, well, the one thing I really didn't like was, they depicted being awake and aware as, like this all this underground
They got no
subterranean
shot. Yeah.
distance where they eat this horrible stuff, like oatmeal and they're living on some kind of shit.
Gruel.
Yeah, and I don't think that that's what it should be like, because, when you finally do begin to really see the unseen, it's like your world expands. It doesn't contract to something like that. That's the one thing I didn't really like about it. Um, it otherwise, the metaphors were they were just fantastic, you know? I just wish I had one of those gadgets where you can, plug it in the back of your neck and
Yeah.
download stuff. I mean,
Well, I mean, if you look at what's happened to both of them, Hunter, what were the names of the directors? I
The
can't think of their
the
name.
Wachowski
The
brothers.
Wachowski brothers. So it's
yeah,
like it's proof that they were given access to higher density information to do that. And again, it's not again if you how I say it is if you're familiar with the Wave series, and unfortunately there aren't enough people, but by the time these podcasts get out there, more people will become familiar with them. But to me, that's proof that they were given information from your books plus whoever helped them in directing in Hollywood, because obviously we know Hollywood is like a portal to these places. Because now they're just carrying out this transgender, ideal. And 10 years later, 15 years later, it's bizarre.
I think when you're saying that, just triggered a thought in my head that the reality they're depicting of being red pilled is probably the reptilian reality.
Right. Right.
See, so there was some evidence of where it was coming from, and the seeds have said that these fourth density negative uh, beings, of whatever form they are, they can be starkly accurate
Yes.
when it serves their agenda. And they presented being red pilled as being extremely unpleasant, and everybody else, was still living in the matrix and enjoying their steaks and so forth. While those poor guys on the little ship, whatever, I forget the name of it, we're eating ugh, yucky stuff.
Gruel.
Yeah, gruel, and living in probably looked like a sewer, you know. So I don't know. So yeah, there's a lot to be said about that, being inspired by negative forces. And maybe they didn't get anything from my work. Maybe the negative forces gave it to them directly, kind of like a mind transfer thing, and as a means to combat what I was doing.
Right.
So
Right.